Captain America Civil War. I'm probably the last person to talk about it so far. Like, every channel I subscribe to has already talked about it, so I feel like I'm the last one. This is the third in the Captain America series of Marvel movies. But this one is unique in that it features a lot of the other Marvel characters, which at times makes it feel like an Avengers movie. The conflict is about this act that the UN wants to pass to keep superheroes in check, because there's a lot of collateral damage that happens because of these superpowered fights. Sound familiar? And Tony Stark feels guilty after all the years of being Iron Man, and he wants to sign it and a few others agree with him. But Steve Rogers doesn't want to sign it because he doesn't want something to happen like what happened in the Winter Soldier. And speaking of the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes is accused of an attack, so everybody is after him and Cap and his friends are trying to help him. Now, what I love about this movie is that the talking parts are actually really engaging, and it makes the action sequences that more impactful. And it's great to see these characters interact after they've built them up after so many years. It's definitely a treat for MCU fans who have been following along since the beginning. It's our big reward for being up to date. I think even more so than the first Avengers, though you will probably still enjoy it if you're not caught up. If anything, I'd say watch the Captain America movies before seeing this one. The fact that they can make a movie like this and still have it be a financial and critical success is amazing. And like I mentioned before, I think it's actually more amazing than the Avengers, as far as, wow, they're actually pulling this off factor. The characters feel natural, they're all very interesting, and there are some great exchanges of dialogue. The only thing I'd say people would have a problem with is the villain, though I'll get to that in the spoiler section. But overall, it's a really great Marvel movie, and just this accumulation of all these characters over the years just coming together to make one really fantastic movie. And I really want to see it again. If you haven't seen it this past weekend, watch it this week, because it's definitely worth it. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, close the video now because I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. So if you haven't closed the video, I'm going to talk about spoilers right now, starting with Spider-Man. So what everybody has been saying is true. This Spider-Man is the best movie Spider-Man we've got. And the scene introducing Peter Parker with Tony Stark is really great. And he brought a lot of fun to the airport fight. All of his quips had the audience laughing. And it's part of why I want to see it again, because I didn't hear everything he had to say because the audience was laughing so much. Then there's Black Panther, which was really awesome. I don't know much about Black Panther other than what I've seen in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. And man, Black Panther is badass. His suit looks so good. But one of my favorite characters in the movie was actually Ant-Man. Part of how he was geeking out meeting Captain America and Scarlet Witch, but also because of how useful he was in the fight. I was wondering if they were going to bring in the Giant Man aspect of Ant-Man, and they did. Then there's a whole romance between Scarlet Witch and the Vision, which I've heard about from people who say it's in the comics, and I feel like they did it pretty well in this. And one of the things that has been teased in the trailers is War Machine Rhodey being shot down. And thankfully he doesn't die, though I feel like he probably should have, just to give more tension, I guess. But at the same time, I'm glad he's not dead. He's crippled now, but not dead. And now the villain. While there is a villain in the beginning with Crossbones, who is the guy fighting Falcon at the end of the Winter Soldier, the main villain is Baron Zemo, which is very different from the comics from what I've heard, and from what I've seen on Earth's Mightiest Heroes, because he's very different in that. But in this, you kind of get his motivation, because he doesn't want these heroes to exist because of how much damage they cause. And one thing I didn't realize until the second time it played was the message on his phone is from his dead wife. So while I know people are going to say that this villain isn't really that interesting, he has a pretty good motivation. Civil War is a great superhero movie. You get invested in the characters, you get invested in their motivations, you kind of switch sides in between the movie because you're not sure who is actually right. Though I'm Team Cap all the way. It has great action, great dialogue, great humor at times. It's a bit darker than the other Marvel films, though compared to the grim dark fantasy that we got a couple months ago with Batman v Superman, this is a masterpiece. So I would say this is probably my favorite Marvel film so far. It was really that enjoyable for me. So those are my thoughts on Captain America Civil War. If you've seen it, tell me what you thought down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, by now we're getting a bit used to winter. We're like soldiers in the middle of a campaign, growing hardened to discomfort and better able to